Okay, here we are once again with another episode, probably a short one, as I prepare for this evening's community call in the Quantum Elite community. But before that, let's address the idea of nature. What is natural? And when nature is calling us, what does that mean beyond just having to manage our bodily functions and what's required to sustain these magnificent bodies? And part of the natural process of life, of being a human being, is obviously involving a lot of different faculties, but there are many faculties to all of life, to all of the natural experiences that we have as we put one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, taking one step at a time as we navigate through our lives and thinking about what is natural. What is the natural process of life? What is the natural process of evolution? What is the natural process of our evolution as we grow spiritually? Life is here to serve that purpose for our spiritual growth. And that's why we're here. And so if you think about answering nature's call, it's not just about using the bathroom, but it's that natural inspiration of what is the most obvious thing to do. It might be a crude analogy to utilize that, but your body is telling you when you need to do something. And obviously there's ways to train the body and delay certain functions, or when you're in a higher frequency, the body operates differently than when you're in a lower frequency, for sure. But let's not go there too much. Let's just assume that everything in life is natural. Everything we experience is a natural process in our spiritual experience as we're evolving as a soul, as a spiritual being. If we just have that assumption that everything that we're prompted to do is the right thing to do. Now, let's discern this a little bit here, because there's impulses, of course, taking action from a place of anxiety with a fear-based definition, which is distorting our viewpoint. So obviously those aren't necessarily the right things to do, albeit if you're doing them, they also become a learning process. So no mistake is a mistake unless you don't learn from it. And even then, it's still not really a mistake, because at some point you'll learn. But the point here is there's a natural call within yourself, a natural call to maintain that forward momentum. But it's up to your discernment. It's up to you understanding that form of communication with yourself, with nature, with the natural laws of reality. When you understand what reality is, when you understand the laws or the facts of reality that govern its existence and its forward momentum, and then you act in harmony with those, then that call from nature will always be in alignment and always feel like you're in the right place at the right time. If you don't feel that way, then you could say that you're neglecting to answer nature's call and you're energetically constipating yourself because you're resisting, you're holding on rather than letting things flow. And that's the whole purpose of life, is getting into that flow. And everything is a metaphor. And as crude as this analogy may be, it's still very relevant. And obviously in the Western world, we're uncomfortable with discussing certain topics publicly, which is another form of resistance. So when we open up to the idea that we can allow every aspect of our life to be in alignment, every aspect of our life to be in that natural flow, and we can allow ourselves to answer that call of our most natural self at all times, then life becomes beautiful, like this paradise behind me. Because this is the reality that we all deserve, we're all worthy of. It's just a matter of alignment. And that call, what does that call feel like? It's different depending on the circumstances. If it's a literal call from nature, you know what that feels like. And as human beings, we're all potty trained at a very early age, for the most part, I'm assuming, making that assumption. But a lot of us lack the emotional training, even people into their 40s, 50s, 60s, up until the point of them dying in the physical world, may not fully understand how their emotions work. It's obviously more complex than the physical mechanisms of the body. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with complexity, because all complexity is separate components of simplicity. Right? If something's extraordinarily simple, it's generally just one idea. That's what it is. So it's easy to understand because it's simple. Something that's complex is made out of several simple components. So if something has 12, just using that as a random number here, 12 simple components within it, that could be discussed as a complex system, but everything can be broken down into its simplicity. And Albert Einstein said something along the lines of allowing things to be as simple as they need to be, but no more simple than that. And you could also say allowing things to be as complex as they need to be, but no more complex than that. And you don't have to allow them to become complicated. Emotions aren't complicated, they're complex. So they require a higher level of intelligence, a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of insight and awareness than understanding how your body functions work, albeit there's a lot of complexity to that as well, depending on how deep you go. But the emotions are really the root of life. If you think about it, it's an emotion that created your physical body. Your parents had a strong emotion for one another, and therefore you were conceived. No matter where that emotion came from, whether it was truly love or some animalistic urge, the call of nature was answered in the appropriate way. Because why was it appropriate? Because it happened the way it was meant to happen. And of course, I'm using that in the context of you can't change the past. Not all behavior is appropriate in this regard. Of course, you know that. And I always encourage your discernment with what I am sharing in these episodes of Phoenix Rising Live. So in the spirit of wrapping this up, I'm sure this is a topic that will be touched upon again and again. And it's a wonderful metaphor to be utilizing because it brings up all sorts of emotions as we discuss it. And as those emotions come up, those emotions are the treasure trove of life, because that is why we're here, to experience the emotions. That's what allows the growth. That's what allows the transformation. That's what gives you life itself, are the emotions, not the material possessions, not the external world. Allow the emotion of excitement and enthusiasm and groundedness and balance to be your call to move into your most natural state of being, where you feel simply like yourself in the most magnificent way. And I will see you, hopefully, for the Quantum Goal Activation class tomorrow, Wednesday at 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Stay in touch with me. I will support you every step of the way. And I look forward to moving together in this journey of life as one happy soul family. So thank you for being a part of my life, and I will see you next time.